Arthur and Serena's Boy, Eagle Scout, Photography Buff, Engineer, Navy Lieutenant, Businessman, Devoted Husband and Father, Enthusiastic alumni of Harvard and collector extraordinaire, Marlowe Sigal was a man of many parts who would devote his life to collecting, documenting, and understanding historic keyboards and woodwinds from around the world. His interest in his subject was encyclopedic, and he relentlessly pursued examples as they came available from around the globe, ultimately assembling one of the finest collections of its type in America. Now, through the generosity of his family, this collection comes alive at the newly rebranded Sigal Music Museum in Greenville, South Carolina, where it joins the complimentary Carolina Clavier Collection under the direction of Thomas Strange, and the Frank Edwin Collection. Now amounting to nearly 1,000 instruments, the Sigal Music Museum will be a place of education and entertainment for the foreseeable future. For over 60 years, Marlowe was the beloved husband of Elise and the father of Erica and Andrew Sigal. Born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and raised in Easton, Pennsylvania, Marlowe spent his adult life in Boston and Newton, where he was a pillar of the community. He was a graduate of Harvard College and Harvard Business School. Marlowe served our nation as a lieutenant in the United States Navy, and on leaving the service, he bought into a small chemical company, becoming the founder of Solutech Corporation in Roxbury, Massachusetts. He was the president of this thriving business for over 50 years, continuing until just days before his death. He was a major figure in the New Market Business Association, an organization committed to the economic growth and development of that area of Boston. As a result of his lifelong interest in the preservation of historic buildings, he was central to the restoration of the Shirley Eustace House, a U.S. National Historical Landmark, and the creation of the Shirley Eustace House Association. Marlowe was internationally regarded as an expert on the study, preservation, and restoration of antique musical instruments. He sat on the boards of numerous organizations devoted to the preservation of musical instruments and the performance of classical music, including the National Music Museum. He played saxophone in the Harvard Marching Band, marching every year for 66 years, without exception, a record unlikely to be ever matched or surpassed. He performed and participated in the musical community up until the time of his death. Let's hear about how the Sigal collection got started from Marlowe himself, as he gave a guided tour in 1993. We join Marlowe as he steps us through his early days.
Probably know really one thing. I've been interested in music since I took piano lessons in the second grade for a couple of years. Mercifully, my parents didn't force me to continue taking lessons, so we didn't turn off of music. I picked up music again in junior high school, where I wanted to be in the school band and learn to play saxophone and clarinet. And at that point, I went back to keyboard, we had a piano in the house. I went back and just continued to work on my own. And then when I was about 14 years old, my father found in a little church in New Jersey, we lived in Pennsylvania at the time, an antique reed organ. Dad schlepped this thing home. He loved his work. He said to me, "Marlowe, if you can fix it, you can have it." So I fixed it. I have it. And that was my first antique musical instrument. Then there was a long period of time between that and the acquisition of my next keyboard instrument. In the early 60s, everyone was building harpsichord kits. And I decided that, well, I thought I'd build a harpsichord kit. And Father said, gee, rather than buying a kit and building a kit, why don't you buy a real antique harpsichord? Well, that's what turned me on to the concept of the real thing rather than modern replicas. About that time, there was an auction at Hubley's in Cambridge, the auction house in Cambridge, a late 19th century, or late 18th century square piano came up for sale. So I bought it, and I restored it, got the joy of what playing on it. And shortly thereafter, I saw an ad for a very remarkable, at that time, English harpsichord by the noted English maker Sodi. And it was in Scotland, and I called the guy immediately and bought it. And then it just sort of grew like Topsy from there.
The Sigal collection of musical instruments is focused primarily on early keyboard instruments and later woodwinds, representing the two areas of Marlowe's personal interest and playing skill. Marlowe made friends and acquaintances throughout the world in the field of early musical instruments, and joined the various societies devoted to their study. With this broad base of learning, he was able to quickly master the subject and became extremely well-versed in which instrument was worth pursuing for the collection, the values, and the rigors of returning an instrument to playing condition through careful restoration. Among the harpsichords is one of the oldest playing virginals in the world. The circa 1575 virginal, attributed to Giovanni Baffo, maker of the Virginal for Queen Elizabeth I, is one of only 6 polygonal virginals known by Baffo. It also is among the earliest. It now sits in an elaborate 19th century case, commissioned for this instrument when such keyboards became highly collectible late in the 1800s. It is in very original condition and remains a compelling voice from 450 years ago. Every great collection aspires to have a harpsichord by Pascal Taskin. The Sigal collection boasts a fine double manual in a chinoiserie-style case with painted soundboard and cabriole leg stand. It has been recorded extensively since it was restored by a team commissioned by Marlowe in 1997 and 1999. Perhaps the most astonishing harpsichord in the collection is the 1761 Kirkman double manual with full marquetry, the wedding present of King George III to his new bride Charlotte, who was herself a fine musician. When the young Wolfgang Mozart was taken to the English court by his father in 1763, he performed for the royal family on this very harpsichord. Shortly after this harpsichord was removed from the castle, where it had been for decades, and sold to Sigal, the castle burned, destroying all the contents. It is by the slimmest chance that it survives for us today. The first piano builder to improve on the early piano designs of Cristofori was Johann Andreas Stein in Augsburg, Germany. Stein was not only a premier builder, but his designs were directly incorporated into the Viennese pianoforte by every other builder in Germany and Austria in the 18th century. This created a distinct piano type that was to last for over 100 years and made famous by Mozart, Haydn, and Beethoven. Among the collection is the fabulous 1784 Stein grand piano, among the largest grands ever made, and in very original condition for a piano in strong playing condition. The later addition of decoration to the outer case indicates a long useful life for this piano, well past the time when it would have been superseded by larger, more powerful pianos. The collection also has a school of Stein pianoforte from 1780, likely made by one of his apprentices, and also in good playing condition. From Italy, we have a rare Vincenzo Sodi grand piano of 1785, now sporting period paintings on the inside of the lid. While these paintings were likely harvested from a harpsichord lid, they again show the demand for such pianos past their normal lifespan. Keyboards in Italy were often decorated to extravagant levels in the late 19th century by dealers eager to sell splendid antiquities to a growing market for early keyboards in museum and world collections. While these fake decorations were usually made on the spot, they occasionally were made from even rarer materials harvested from defunct harpsichords and other furniture. The 1815 Anton Walter Son grand piano is a Viennese-style piano that Beethoven would have used during the height of his piano-centric compositions. A piano that represents the highest style of its time, it features neoclassical themes around the case, sitting on 5 gold-leafed Nubian male caryatid legs. The return to the ancient world decorative motifs was the fashion craze in the day, and Walter brought it off in the best execution. Behind Stein, Anton Walter was the most prominent builder of his day, and with the later Johann Schan's piano already in the museum holdings, the Sigal Music Museum has examples of the Viennese piano from each of the important eras. Marlowe Sigal collected fine English grand pianos as well, and we are fortunate to have one by Thomas Tomkison from very early in his career in 1802. Tomkison was highly regarded in his day, and he exported pianos frequently to America throughout his career. Along with the grand pianos, Marlowe also added many smaller square pianos from England, America, and the continent. The Sigal collection sports a 1770 Johann Zumpe square, early pianos from the Boston and New York building traditions, along with 2 of the first upright pianos ever made by the builder Isaac Hawkins. Thomas Jefferson had an upright piano by Hawkins that is a near sister to these 2. When space in his house started to become a premium, Marlowe began to collect musical instruments from his other passion, the woodwind family. As a saxophone player himself, he found common ground with all the traditional woodwinds, including important examples from their earliest beginnings. Some of Marlowe's earliest woodwinds come in the form of the recorder. Widely popular in Europe between the 16th and 18th centuries, recorders were played upon across all social classes. For the wealthy, beautiful recorders made of solid ivory were available for purchase. This particular instrument, an alto recorder made in circa 1720 by Johann Benedict Gahn in Nuremberg, Germany, exemplifies the finest available. Adorned with dragon-like mask and acanthus leaves, the recorder's carvings speak to popular Rococo design styles across the decorative arts. While ivory was occasionally used for the entire body of a wind instrument, it more commonly appeared as a decorative accent. On this circa 1720 oboe by Hendrik Richters of Amsterdam, ivory is used on the bell rim and mounts between sections of the instrument. Active in the first decades of the 18th century, the Richter shop was recognized for their exquisite oboes, most of which featured the work of a rose engine lathe, an extremely expensive machine that allows for creation of intricate geometric patterns and designs. Often limited to people of affluence and leisure, musical instruments were perfect receptors for fanciful decoration to further display wealth. Out of the collection's 44 bassoon family instruments, the 19th century bassoon made by Jean Winen of Paris takes the cake. Boasting an array of stamped geometric metalwork, the bassoon is embellished with gold-plated ferrules and keys, and a columnar bell joint reminiscent of the ornate empire style of the early 19th century. While the collection holds many fanciful and celebrated European instruments, Marlowe also acquired a number of rare early American winds. Among these is an early 19th century clarinet made by Nathaniel Curtis, working in Hartford and Litchfield County, Connecticut. Made of fruitwood, the instrument is adorned with a whimsical swag design of stamped stars on the bell. Also the probable creator of a bassoon within the collection, Curtis's work speaks to the small but burgeoning work of wind instrument makers in early New England and New York. Beyond all of the quintessential woodwind family instruments, Marlowe also collected less ubiquitous forms, like the walking stick flute. These whimsical flute-cane hybrids appeared in Europe and America throughout the 19th century. The anonymous walking stick flute in the Sigal Music Museum's collection, dating to the early 19th century, was likely made in either Germany or Switzerland, undoubtedly serving as an entertaining gimmick for many. Always a sax player, Marlowe's beloved instrument is well represented in the collection through a wide range of saxophone family instruments, including the soprano, alto, tenor, baritone, and bass. This particular grouping was made between 1859 and 1869 in the Paris workshop of the great inventor himself, Adolphe Sax. Filing a patent for the instrument in 1846, Sax's unique design incorporated the best features of woodwinds with the best features of brass instruments. Spanning 400 years of musical instrument building traditions, the Sigal collection was among the finest private collections in the world. Now incorporated into the Sigal Music Museum's even broader holdings, the result is an enormous research and educational treasure on par with the finest museums in the world. Please, take time to linger over these first gems from Marlowe Sigal's private collection, and look to see many other exhibits featuring more of our collection in the future.